like to welcome Jefferson County Mayor Alan Palmieri. We're going to sit down and have a little discussion about what went on. Welcome, Mayor.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be with you, Chris.
Last night was an interesting night in Jefferson County, wasn't it?
I guess that's one word you could associate it with.
What we're referring to is last night was a budget committee meeting, which came on the heels of Monday night's county commission meeting, and I think we saw 10 o'clock last night and what 8:30 or 9 o'clock the night before. So it's been a couple of long nights.
Should never schedule those two meetings the same time in the week.
It does make for a long beginning of the week, doesn't it? We're going to jump in and talk just for a minute about the county commission meeting first. There was some action that was taken during the county commission meeting that had some potential conflicts with current county commission policies, and you made a decision to veto that resolution. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. You're at all the meetings, so that you know for quite a few months now, a lot of time has been wasted and non-productive conversations going back and forth over the agenda, how it should be set up, what should be listed, what departments should be present, who should speak, who shouldn't speak. All that is a waste of time and it's not productive. They have an adopted resolution that provides rules of procedure, and it outlines clearly how the agenda is to be prepared and submitted. Well, they also have two other resolutions that they had adopted, and each one of the three are in conflict with one another. They say different things about the same issue, so there's no clarity to how they should function and operate, number one. Number two, in the last one they adopted and the second one they adopted, it spells out that they're actually telling elected officials what they have to do. And of course, by state statute, they cannot tell elected officials, constitutionally elected officials, what to do. So between those two items, I have vetoed it. And this is one of the issues that I feel strongly about. The county commission is probably way too aggressive in sticking their noses in everybody else's department, trying to tell us how to run our business, what we should do, how we should do it. And I have said over and over and over, clean up your own house first. And this is one example of a house that's in not only decay, but in chaos.
So what will happen with this? Will this go back to the county commission then after the veto? And it takes what to override your veto?
It just takes a simple majority to override the veto. Hopefully it'll go back, and hopefully there'll be some, and this is a big hope, and it'll never come to be, but hopefully there'll be some calm heads, wise heads. It'll say, you know, we do have a problem with three resolutions in conflict with one another. Let's send it to a committee and let's get it cleaned up. So I hope the commission will uphold the veto, send it to a committee, and make something that is coherent.
Now, there are a few other things that have been going on countywide that have been interesting anyway, to say the least, and somewhat controversial. One would be the proposed county complex. That's been kind of a hot button issue. It failed in the facilities committee, didn't make it out of the facilities committee. And you have been a proponent of the county complex. This is not a new position for you. This is a long-term position for you. But there are undeniably people in the county who fear moving county buildings from downtown. Can you talk a little bit about that and maybe address some of those fears?
Sure. There's been so much poor information that has gotten out about it, and misinformation. Probably we didn't do a good job of trying to get out the facts on it. The reality of it is this, is that we have old buildings that have not been kept up to the standard they should have, so that they can continue to be functional, safe, and a place that would be convenient for residents. For example, None of our buildings are truly, completely, all ADA compliant. That is a problem. We deal with that on a daily basis. Yearly, we have to fill out reports. We have foundations that are not at the level they should be. And you know, when a foundation goes, then your building is going to go. We have bricks that are actually falling out of the old jail, the school administration building. We've had mold issues in numerous buildings that's going to cost multiple millions of dollars to correct these and other problems. When you compare the actual cost to bring everything up to where it should be, and let me back up, when you start a major remodeling, you'll find that we have to go in and remodel and bring the building up to state specifications, which is another enormous, for example, sprinkler systems and things of that nature. The cost is astronomical to fix the buildings up. What I have proposed and what I looked at is taking one parcel of property that we already own out by the Justice Center, construct a county complex that would house all the county operations so that any resident would go to one location for any need that they may have. Did not at any time include the abandonment of Danbridge. What we want to do is preserve the courthouse so it would be a museum, have it for archives, and if, for whatever reason, they want to continue to have it as the oldest still functioning courthouse, court could still be held there. Take the buildings that the annex that we're in now, my office and the clerk's office, the old school administration building, finance building, turn those in. I've had discussion with developers, turn those into retail establishments. Government's not going to generate livelihood in downtown Danbridge. That's foolish. Government doesn't generate anything anywhere. We are a burden and we're a cost. You can look at what's happened in Danbridge. Right across the street here, you've had 2 restaurants that couldn't make it. You have a cafe that didn't make it. There's nothing here to bring anybody into Danbridge. Well, our plan would have had developers bring in retail that would help attract business into this area. With the new bridge going in, this would be an ideal location to say this is a scenic route to the Smoky Mountains and attract business, attract retail establishments and trade. It would also serve as a cost-efficient way for the county to operate because we will spend less money on a new complex than we're going to end up spending over the same period of time for the existing structures we have. There was,
and this is rumor, so I'll just ask you on air. Nothing like putting you on the spot, is there?
I love it.
There was a rumor that there was the possibility of maybe the relocation of the Chamber of Commerce and EDOC into the downtown area. Should that happen, would that have been something that might have been on the table if the county complex had been a go? Maybe the relocation of them into downtown Danbridge, into one of these buildings.
Oh, that's absolutely, everything was on the table. That had been rumored around. One of the plans that we had was to allow them to rent out, which would have been county money, one of the buildings that we would vacate. We also had provisions for them to go into the new county complex, but they would be one of those that would be paying rent to be there to help offset the cost. So both those options would have been on the table.
I'm sure that you're aware that EDOC is now, or in the near future, will be located in the City Hall in Danbridge.
Right.
So they are moving into the downtown Danbridge area. As of right now, Felden Facilities Committee, it hasn't been presented to the full commission. Do you expect, because of this budget cycle and looking at the capital projects budget, they've pulled the DOE building off of the capital projects funding list for this year to look at some different things. Do you expect that that will make it to the floor of the county commission, or do you think it's dead this cycle?
Well, you know, once something dies in a committee, it doesn't prevent it from going before the full commission. Even if a committee turns it down, presents it to the full commission, they say no, you can always bring it back up. I am not going to allow it just to completely die, because I believe what we're doing now is actually costing us a lot of money. It's costing taxpayers a lot of money, and it's going to cost them a lot more. We're not talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. We're talking about millions of dollars that's going to be blown, wasted. And I think we can do something different.
And I want to let everyone who's listening right now know, as you can see, and you'll hear every once in a while, it's real world. There's work going on outside the window. So this is real life going on behind us. There has been some discussion about either selling one building. You and I kind of talked about that off camera. Either selling one building, maybe the DOE building, and building something that's a little smaller that can be built onto, or perhaps even renovating and fixing the DOE building, but doing a total shift of offices and selling off some of these kind of buildings and doing a major renovation plan. Is that something that you could get behind if they're willing to put the money into it?
I don't think so, because it's going to be good money going after bad. When you piecemeal a project and just take one building here and then say maybe 3 years another building there, it's going to cost you a lot more money. The whole premise behind this idea was to provide easy access and service, better service to the residents at the most economical and best value for their dollar. Continuing to take buildings that have been in such disrepair for so long and trying to keep them up, just like on the utilities, for example, there's no way that it's going to be as efficient as a newer building. So I think if you've got an idea and you've got the concept, move forward, do it, and move on from there.
So you would like to see this go before the full commission?
At some point in time, I think that it should. It's going to be done at some point in time, and it's almost like having a baby. I remember Dr. Ellis, when my wife and I were talking about having a baby, he said, well, if you're going to have one, go ahead and have one now, because it's going to be cheaper today than it will be tomorrow. And that's the same thing with building today. You know, it's going to be cheaper today than it's going to be tomorrow.
So that's been a hot button issue in Jefferson County recently. Of course, we're right in the smack dab middle of budget season. And budget season is always an interesting time in Jefferson County. This year, it looks like the major source of contention is the Chamber and EDOC, particularly EDOC budget. Last night, it was on the agenda again. Last meeting, the meeting before that, they failed to find any kind of consensus on what they wanted to do with funding. They rolled it. It came up again last night. I think totally there's probably been close to 30 motions over the course of 2 meetings that have just repeatedly failed and failed and failed and failed. EDOC is, for those who are not aware who are listening, EDOC is asking for $280,000 in funding. That's what they came in on. This current year, they're at $180,000. They're asking for a $100,000 increase. Chamber asking for $65,000, and the excess of the hotel motel tax, which pays for all of that funding. Hotel motel tax, we're talking about a projection of $345,000. Are you comfortable with the level of requests that from both of those?
No, and I have some questions about the spin-off, EDOC and the Chamber. Those two organizations work together well. I don't want to see either one of them hurt financially, but what's being proposed at this stage of the game is hurting the Chamber. The $65,000, the Chamber actually needs to have $160,000 to operate. So they are short-circuited as far as having enough funds to operate. Most of the things in our county, and this is one of 3 P's, if I can, and if I can remember them. I don't want to play a George Bush and forget them. You have principle and purpose get lost because of the personalities that we have. And EDOC and the chamber are being impacted over the mega site. Now, as you all know, I supported the mega site strongly for a long time, during the beginning of it and all the way through to the middle and even past the halfway mark, until some information became available to me and I started to check into some things and found out that this wasn't really the right thing to do. And I did something that's difficult to do. I changed and I admitted that I'd made a mistake and supported it. But we changed, that's a leaf blower going in. It's not my stomach growling. I just want to make sure that's cool. The fact that the mega site was such a controversial issue, and even then, there were a lot of things being said that weren't true. They were talking about eminent domain. Eminent domain was never mentioned to any meeting that I had attended. Everything was going to be above board on it. The way they handled some things, the actual support and everything was not there. And that's another story in itself that I could go into, but I won't ramble on and on about it. So I think that we don't need to hurt the chamber. We don't need to hurt EDOC, because we need growth. We need economic development. We need somebody out there pushing us. Our problem with county commission is they want, and by they, I'm not talking about each individual one, but I'm talking about them as a body. They want to be involved in every single thing that goes on, and they want total control. And you can't operate that way. And to prove that what I'm saying is not wrong or is not a fallacy, we're getting nowhere in this county. And we're getting nowhere because we're doing the same thing that we've done over and over and over. And as long as that mentality stays there, and as long as these people continue to try to control everything or use personalities to drive things in the direction they want, the residents as a whole will be hurt.
One of the interesting things regarding the EDOC funding is that this is the first time that I have seen that kind of divide within Budget Committee or County Commission regarding EDOC. There is a thought process out there among a lot of citizens that if you're going to receive county funds, you need to be upfront about what you're doing. Open records. Last night they mentioned salaries, which had there was a very visual reaction from some of the members of the chamber and EDOC regarding salary disclosure. You know, if you're looking for funding at the level that they're looking for, which is 53% of EDOC's budget is what they're asking for from county funds. I think somewhere around in there, I haven't done the math, but that's what Commissioner Tucker's saying, 53%. And so if you're looking at 53%, and that's not counting what you've got going on with your cities, your municipalities, that's a lot of public money, public dollars that's going into that organization. Is it fair for the citizens to say, hey, we want disclosure?
Oh, absolutely. I think any time there are public funds put into a project, that disclosure should be there. I think that an accounting, a budget, and an audit report should be given. But I feel that way about everything. I think a volunteer fire department should have to do that. I think that Humane Society should do that. I don't think that we ought to just pick on one group, because if you are, then that's a personality thing. Let's set a policy. And the state law says that, for example, on volunteer fire departments, you either have to provide a budget or an audit report. Well, this county, for whatever reason, accepts the budget. But I think that should be on whatever standard we're going to apply, it needs to apply across the board to everybody, not just EDOC and the chamber.
Sure. So are salaries off the table?
No.
Salary disclosure?
No, I don't think salaries off the table, but I think some of the things that are confusing are like when they say travel and promotion. You know, divide that up. Travel should mean that that's gas, transportation promotion may mean that you're taking out ads or things of that nature.
Right. During that mega site time, I clearly remember that time, and one of the things that you did that stood out for me was that when you did make the decision that you were no longer in support of that particular project, you said, I don't support this anymore. I was wrong to start with. And it's hard to argue with that. You know, everybody is wrong sometimes about, particularly something of that magnitude, that kind of project. There's a lot of information, but that was one of the things that I think that that maybe was missing. Do you feel like that a true apology from EDOT to this group of people that feel like they were wronged by the process, do you feel that that would make a difference? Because that contentious relationship has found its way into even this budget cycle.
Right.
So do you feel like that there's a way to heal that? Because we're 3 years out, and there's still a lot of hard feelings. And we're still seeing impact a lot in Jefferson County based on a project that never made it past basically the inception stage of that project.
Well, I think you're right, the way you framed that. I know personally that there were supporters of mine that turned on me because I turned on the mega site. They were associated with EDOT, and they felt like I should have stayed positive. Even though, from the governor all the way on down, pecking order, when I contacted these individuals and said, this is not a go deal. There's nothing here. We don't have any involvement in it. We don't have any stake in what you're trying to do. There was no support, there was no buy-in. So people that were associated with EDOT and the chamber turned on me because I had turned on the project. And I said then, and I continue to feel this way today, is that it's a good concept, but there was never a good plan put in place. It was promoted without having a foundation to support. It wasn't easy, and it's not pleasant to admit that you're wrong, but hopefully by now, you know me, I shoot from the hip, and I pretty much say what I have to say, and I'm passionate about things, and I think that's what the people deserve. If I gotta go down with a ship, I'm going down with a ship.
Do you feel like that relationship can be healed between EDOT and that, and it's almost a district in this county, you could say. And those were the people who were would have been directly impacted by that footprint. Do you feel like that relationship can ever be healed?
You know, it boils down to what runs this county, and that's personalities. And I have some friends, and they're honest with me, and some of them are in an elected position, and they'll say, I agree with this, but I've got to do this because these people that I represent are on my back all the time. Those people will never change. And then you have some elected officials that won't stand up to that. And I think it's all personality based. And I think it's so sad for our county. You see it every day, you see it in every meeting. You can actually look at what people are saying in the meetings, and I can point out some things that were said last night at the meeting that we were in, and you can trace that back to those statements being directed towards somebody that has money, somebody that has influence, somebody that they're getting something from. It's life, I guess.
Speaking of last night, they did finally, in the wee hours of the meeting, let's say, toward the 10 o'clock hour, they did finally pass a motion regarding EDOT funding. The request was for $280,000. They passed $279,999, which I guess you could probably concur is an example of a lot of amendments and motions having been made before that, because you can't remake the same motion once it's failed. So do you feel like, and the chamber is getting $65,000, they're getting $35,000, of any kind of excess, and then the rest of that money, if there's any more hotel motel money, will go into a reserve account for, I guess, industrial development or something like that. I think that was the spirit of whatever they talked about before the meeting before that. Not sure they actually made that motion as far as a reserve account, but I know that was where that was heading, actually. Do you feel like that this is a done issue, or are we going to see this same fight when this goes to the full body?
I think there will continue to be some more discussion. I don't know how civil it'll be. You know, sometimes we're not very civil when we're conducting business. I do hope that it does go to the full body for the chamber's sake, because they've been shortchanged. The one thing that I was concerned about was when they split, the split's fine, but don't hurt one for the other. And although EDOC is putting in private sector money, and the county and municipalities are putting in money too, the chamber itself will be impacted if they don't have enough funds to operate. And when you look at it, the chamber is internationally recognized worldwide. When a call comes in, it will come into the Chamber of Commerce. To receive grants and other financial revenues from the state of Tennessee, you have to be part of the 3-star program. Jefferson County is part of the 3-star program. That is through the Chamber of Commerce. And also our mayor's meeting, which is economic development group that we have. So I don't want to see the chamber hurt, and I think it'll have a very negative impact on us.
So you would like to see that revisited?
I would.
Last night as well, came in with a $2.3 million deficit was the bottom line on the budget. Worked it down to somewhere between, I'm going to say it's safe between $500,000 and $1 million in the hole. No one really knows right now because the numbers haven't been reworked since last night. Sheriff's Department came in asking for, 15 cars, I think, and ended up with 9. I think their budget totally was they're getting a $423,000 increase. Other increase came from the ambulance service, who were looking for ambulances, but they were also looking for some employee money to be able to increase a shift or actually add another shift. They did not get that money. Do you think that that's going to work for them, or do you see that having to be revisited?
I think it's going to have to be revisited, but let me just say this about the budget, because I've said this from day one, and it's like a lot of things I say, it gets no traction whatsoever. And yet it should be probably the heartbeat of what's going on right now as far as our county operations go. I am totally opposed to the Act of 81, the Financial Management Act of 81. I always have been. I find myself defending antics that have gone on with elected officials, department heads, county commission in violation of what the Act 81 says. Although I'm opposed to it. Fact of the matter is, it's in. I'm not picking up my toys and going home. What I'm trying to do is function with what we have. When you have a finance director, you have elected officials. They should put together the budget. Now, you've got probably one of the most capable finance directors that you could find for any government operation or any private sector operation that's dealt with billion-dollar budgets, and ours is a $100 million budget. Turn that to the finance director and let him do his job. We have people that if you laid $50,000 cash down, they wouldn't have a clue what to do. And I'm not saying that to be nasty about these people. Everybody has their abilities. If you've got a finance director, he should be doing the budget. This budget committee and budget committees are a joke. 4 and 5 hours going over line items They want to tell the department what they have to operate. They don't have a clue what it takes to operate a department. They want to say that this one can have this, that one can't have that, based on personalities. We've got a finance director that's looking at the bottom line, the finances, cold, hard facts. He could care less about the personalities. Why in God's name do we not let him do his job and let county commission do their job instead of them getting in and stirring it? It's ridiculous.
So last night, there were some moderate winners, I would say. You know, Sheriff's Department got what, a third to fourth of what he was asking for. I guess you could call that a moderate win. I'm not sure he would feel the same way, but anyway. Ambulance got, the ambulances, they did not get the part-time in the shift change for the employees. You got a vehicle to the tune of, the department had asked for, the mayor's department had asked for $26,000. Your vehicle has what? Your car has 100 and some thousand miles on it, stops at every red light and whatnot. And rather than $26,000, you got $16,231, which is a little odd as far as the number goes, but but that would, I guess we'll consider that a moderate win. Zoning office vehicle cut from the budget. Was that a necessary item, the zoning office car?
The zoning office car is a hazard. It's unsafe. It couldn't be certified by any standard anywhere. And the zoning officer, if he drives that thing, he's risking his own life. And it's also a hazard for the residents or anyone else that's on the road. That thing is probably a 2007, it's just a rattle trap. It's a death trap. And here he makes a presentation and they just shoot it down. You can't not fund what it takes to do a job. And we see that over and over and over. And it's wrong. I mean, you can preach that you're going to be conservative with a nickel. You can squeeze that nickel so far that all of a sudden it just becomes sawdust and you don't even have a nickel.
Let me ask you, another, what would be considered a big loser last night was the environmental office. Big news last budget season, environmental director salary was cut. This year, this budget season, he asked for reinstatement plus the 5% raise, and it was turned down. I know that there's a lawsuit that's on the table here, and I don't know how much you can comment on this, but was it possible with the lawsuit on the table for them to reinstate his salary?
That's, personally, I feel like they should. An answer as mayor would be that I'm not an attorney, so I don't know. I would probably advise my client not to. But that cut was made, in my opinion, improperly, illegally, against Act of 81, against any logical managerial standard that you put to it. I know that I had said not to. I know there were a lot of things that went on when that was cut. I think it's doing that department wrong, and I think it's doing the county wrong.
I was a little unclear last night when they were talking about that department, and they said that they were going to fund it at the level, at last year's level. I believe that was the motion. Does that include, in the way you understood it, does that include the 5% increase for that secretary, or for that office, for their current salaries, or does that not include that? Because that would not have been at last year's level. Last year's level would not have included that. So are they going to get that 5%?
They should, in my opinion, they should. Otherwise, you're singling out one employee again.
Right. Right.
Which is wrong.
And maybe that was meant to be a part of that motion. Maybe they were talking about the with the increases you can't do anything about, So last night also, there was some question about, and I'm going to go back to EDOC here, but this has to do with policy over here with the county commission. There was an interesting statement made that Finance Director Potts, which some may or may not know, the Finance Director and the Chairman of the County Commission sit on EDOC. 25% of EDOC is represented by Jefferson County people, not employees, but by Jefferson County positions in the chamber, in the chairman's position and in the finance director's position. Finance Director Potts is actually the chairman of EDOC. Right. And it was brought that it was possible that there could be some sort of a committee update, like there is a report, like there is on the audit committee or the budget committee or whatnot, brought before the county commission. Do you think that that's a possibility? Do you think that that's something that should happen? Oh yeah,
I mean, other departments, if they have something to announce, the problem will be this though, when you get to economic development, you're talking to companies and you're talking to businesses. They detest, and that's one of the problems that we have when you look at Sevier County growing, you look at Hamlin County growing, you look at Knox County, all the construction. I talk with a lot of people and try to bring them in to Jefferson County. One of the problems that we face is the political environment that we have here. Companies and businesses do not want their names brought out until everything is signed, sealed, and delivered. The reason for that is not to be shady, not to go behind people's back, but it's because they don't want their employees to know that there's going to be a change. They don't want to cause upheaval in their own organization. They don't want their competitors to know what they're doing until it's done, so they don't get undercut. There's a host of different reasons. So what could actually be said at any point in time would be limited to the actual activity that's going on. But to give a in general update, I think that would be fine.
So your best guess, are we looking at a tax increase this year?
Well, we're so far behind on so many things. I mean, we're going to continue, like we're talking about the zoning officer, Tim Seals, continue to drive a hazardous piece of equipment. We're not going to fund that. We're looking at equipment that is so old, we're not going to fund that. We're looking at cost that goes up. I was talking to an employee this morning, and I said, it's that time of year that I go to all the different senior centers and install their officers, provide them with an oath of office and install them. And last year when I went to senior centers, I was amazed, and these are people on fixed incomes, I was amazed at how many of them were talking to me about the budget process, and they said, how can the county continue to operate without raising taxes? You know, my insurance has gone up, my benefits have gone up very little, but milk goes up, gas goes up. It's a cost of doing business. And if you're going to be so ultra conservative that you're harming the county, you're doing us no good at all. You're worse than a liberal that's here on the left, way out in the left field. Should there be a tax increase or not? I've got full faith and confidence in Langdon, our finance director. Let him put together the budget and tell us what we need. And I'm not one of those that would micromanage him or act like a county commissioner. I'd accept his word. I know when we went through the process of preparing our budgets, he was realistic in what the needs should be. He was also concerned about the impact on the residents. He had all the ingredients in their right perspective to make a good decision. So I think this Mickey Mouse game that we do with budget committees is ridiculous. I think the budget finance director should handle it. And
I need to make clear that DOE budget, Department of Education budget, is not in yet. No one's had a look at that.
Right.
So right now, you know, we're somewhere north of $500,000 in the hole after the cuts last night. and we're going to roll over some money probably. Finance Director Pop says maybe $750,000.
Right.
You know, there's that hospital reserve money that could be tapped into. But at the core, do you believe that there should be a structured tax increase every so many years, or annually or biannually, of 1 or 2 cents or what?
Yeah, I think nobody likes tax increases, but it's a fact of life unless we're going to deal in an environment where no increase is going to be felt. That's not going to happen. Our insurance is going to go up. Our utilities go up. Appalachian Electric raises our rates. Jefferson County Gas raises their rates on us. You can't say we're going to cut to make up for it. Some people say it's a spending problem, not a revenue problem we have. That's somebody that doesn't know what they're talking about, because we're still so far behind. We have hurt ourselves. There has to be an incremental increase in order for us to survive and provide the services.
Before we let you go, I want to talk about some good things that are going on in Jefferson County. We always hear budget season is all bad, 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 but we've got some good things going on. We have a litter grant that's just come through again, and we've had this grant for a long time. We get quite a bit of money off this, don't we?
We do. We get approximately $44,000. The biggest portion of that goes to fund the litter officer that works for the sheriff. But then we get materials and educational products for schools and seniors. And we carry out a ongoing litter grant program, try to make people aware. You know, Jefferson County is too beautiful a county to continue to see litter and trash all over the place. And you just can't get to all of it. I mean, we don't have enough people out on the streets working. It's a good program. And
beyond the litter grant, another great thing is Strawberry Plains Senior Center is going to get some housing.
Right.
I know that you've been a proponent of trying to work something out for those people, and
it's much needed. You know, they had a house they were using, and it flooded out, and it was to the point where it was just impossible to come up with enough money to fix it, and then you'd still be in a floodplain. So them receiving the new modular trailer home would be a real nice addition.
Is there anything else we need to know about going on in Jefferson County?
I think we're still here. That's an accomplishment. Trying to work through the budget season, get it finalized. The weather's turned warm. The lakes are going to be buzzing with activity. A lot of people hopefully be coming to Jefferson County to see what we have to offer, because we honestly and truly do. If we could ever get it together, there's no place nicer than what Jefferson County is. We have so much to offer, and if we could just get rid of the 2 of the 3 P's, we'd be better off to make it even a better place.
Well, I appreciate you coming in and talking to us. I know that we'll be seeing you around budget seasons. We're just really good in the throes of budget season, and so I'm sure that you'll have more to offer during that time as well. But we really do appreciate you coming in and sitting down, and like I said, real world's going on all behind us, so you probably heard it while we were talking, but we'll call that progress.
Well, I appreciate it, and I really do appreciate all the Jefferson County Post does for the county. It's always accurate reporting, it's always good information, and it's always an enjoyable read.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next time, Mayor.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good.